Microcourse 6, Unit 3, Adapting and Mainstreaming Indigenous Practices. Imagine a world where ancient knowledge guides our modern choices, where the wisdom of indigenous practices not only preserves nature but shapes our path forward. Welcome to this course video where we're diving into the powerful potential of adapting and mainstreaming indigenous practices for a sustainable future. As you watch, think about this. How might your community benefit from practices that have been honed over millennia to work in harmony with nature? Indigenous knowledge isn't just information. It's a way of life. It's a collection of observations, stories, techniques, and new ideas gathered over generations, deeply connected to the landscapes, seasons, and resources around each community. This knowledge is not static. It evolves. Through group discussions, elders bring new ideas which, after careful consideration and testing, become part of communities' practices. This knowledge is, at its heart, a living tradition, shaped, shared, and sustained by those who inhabit and cherish their lands. What if this deep-rooted knowledge, accumulated over thousands of years, could address some of today's biggest environmental challenges? Could we adapt indigenous practices to benefit our own communities and, by extension, our shared world? In Zimbabwe, the Buja people have found a way to thrive in challenging dry conditions. Rather than sticking to maize, a crop that often suffers in low rainfall, they have turned to millet and sorghum. These grains are more resilient to hot, dry climates, and they hold a cultural significance in the community. They are used in ceremonies and traditional meals, showing that adapting to climate change doesn't mean giving up on tradition. It means reimagining them. Think about your own community. What crops or practices could you adapt if faced with changing climate patterns? What might you do differently if you had to make every drop of water and every harvest count? One of the oldest farming methods in Sri Lanka is known as chana. This technique may appear to contribute to deforestation, but it actually enables forest regeneration. Chana farmers clear small patches and move from one plot to another, letting the land rest between uses. By not disturbing large trees or encroaching on habitats, they manage to balance cultivation with conservation. Could this approach be useful elsewhere? Imagine if communities applied similar rotational farming practices, allowing land to rest and regenerate. What impact will that have on soil health and biodiversity? Now let's talk about total biomass utilization, using every part of the plant, animal, or crop in a meaningful way. Indigenous communities have long understood that every resource has value. From crop residues to animal waste, biomass can be used to enrich soil, produce fuel, and even generate electricity. This is about more than just reducing waste. It's about maximizing resources in a way that's both respectful and sustainable. Think of all the waste products in your community. Could they serve a new purpose? What if every piece of agricultural or organic waste were put to use rather than discarded? How will that change our approach on natural resources? While traditional biomass practices have been around for centuries, today's technology offers ways to scale them up sustainably. Industrial processes can now convert biomass into fuel, fertilizer, and even power, transforming waste into an energy source. Governments and local entrepreneurs play a key role here, often financing these technologies and providing training to communities. By combining traditional practices with modern technology, we could meet both local and global energy needs more sustainably. What impact will it have if every community could use its waste to power homes and businesses? Could your own community adapt a similar approach? At the heart of Indigenous practices is a deep respect for nature. Every activity, every ritual, every custom is woven with an understanding of the ecosystem. Indigenous communities approach their environment not as a resource to be exploited, but as a partner in their own survival. And by respecting this relationship, they've managed to sustain rich biodiversity and balanced ecosystems. Could this sense of respect be what's missing from today's environmental strategies? Imagine if we adapted this attitude toward our own surroundings. What would we gain and what would we lose by ignoring it? We've seen how Indigenous practices can inspire sustainable solutions to global problems. These practices remind us that we're not separate from nature, we're part of it. When communities adapt and integrate Indigenous knowledge, we build resilience, enhance biodiversity, and create a world that supports both present and future generations. In closing, ask yourself, what traditional practices could help us restore balance in our modern lives? How might our community begin to embrace the wisdom of Indigenous cultures to create a sustainable and respectful future? Thank you for watching. Join us in exploring, adapting, and respecting Indigenous practices to build a resilient world for all. This publication was made possible through the funding provided by Global Affairs Canada under the Empowering Women and Girls project. The Commonwealth of Learning wishes to thank the contributors to this video: Kuntal D, Sunday Hits, Francis Ferreira, Cyrus Kivuva, and Collins Omondi.